Hello everyone, you're welcome to my channel. If this is the first time of joining us, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome. Today we'll be learning how I made this dress, every process of it, and let us know in the comment section when you're done watching this if it's helpful to you. Hit on the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, like and share. This helps our video a lot. There are some few corrections I will be making for the neckline. If you want the neckline of this dress to be a bit tight, you have to adjust the neck instead of the one I use here. So these are the tools I need for it: the clothes, the tape, the measurement. The half measurement of this dress is 27. Now I've taken down the shoulder measurement. This is the pattern, my shoulder to the waistline, and the full dress length, the half dress length, because you see there was a ruffle at the end of it. So here I'm making some certain adjustments to the one I pointed out, because I did some calculation and I found out that because this measurement was sent, the person was not measured. So I found out that it wasn't aligning when you calculate it the proper way to calculate. So I had to make a few adjustments for it. So now I'm taking the hip measurement. I started with the hip measurement, that is the baseline, and I added 1 inch for ease for the hip measurement because it's a free dress, it's not that tight. Then for the waist measurement, I added the waist measurement. Take note, please, it's only the hip measurement I added ease on because it's going to have a zipper. Then here I'm imputing the bust measurement. So go ahead and connect your lines. Now I'm adding my same allowance. I did 1.5. You can do 1, you can do 0.5. It's totally your choice. When you're making fabric for someone, especially somebody that's not close, you need to add enough allowance so that if there is an adjustment, there will be room for it. So here I'm connecting my measurement. Like I said I did 1 inch ease for the hip measurement before I included the 1.5 allowance, which you just saw. So please take note of that. So now I'm taking my shoulder slope. This pattern, I'm using it for the front and the back. Then I took the shoulder slope for the front is 1.5, for the back is 1. Now I'm taking my neck depth width. That's where I said the correction is coming from. If you, as you can see here, I did 3.5 for the width and I did 3 for the depth. So now you can do 3 for the width and either 2.5 or 3 for the depth, depending on how wide or how up you want it to. So I did this to be on the safe side, just in case. You know, some persons don't like their dress too up or touching their neck. So now you're going to connect your shoulder slopes. So here I'm going to go up by 3. This is to eliminate any board because this person is a plus size. I did 0.7 for the front, and for the back I did 0.5. So if you're on a small size, you do 0.5 for the front, 0.3 or 0.2 for the back. So now, because this pattern I'm using it for 2, I only did the marking for the back one. You see me connecting 0.5 instead of the 0.7. So when I'm sewing it, I'm going to remove the 0.2 left for the front. So here I'm connecting because this, I want this to have a dart, a bust dart. So you already know how to get your bust dart, the difference between your front measurement and your back measurement. But because I wasn't the person that measured this person, I only did 1 inch. So now there's a formula to get your bust dart, which I'll do a tutorial for that one of these days. So I did that, and I got I just did one to just give it a shape because I don't want the chest to be flat. You know, when you do a dress with zip, like a free dress for a busty people, most times from bust 40 and all that, you find out that it's pressing the chest. So this is just to give it that ease. So you can skip it. It's not necessary. You can skip it, especially if you want to leave like 0.5 inch or 0.2 inch ease. You can skip this process. So now I'm taking the measurement for the neck depth for the front. So for the back neck depth, sorry, for the back neck depth, you're going to do 1 instead of 1.5, the deepening of it. That's if you want the neckline. I keep emphasizing on it because if you want the neckline to be upward. So now we're done with that. Go through your pattern and see if there's a place to make some correction, then cut out. Here I'm cutting out. I'm going to cut out for the back because I'm using it for both the back and the front. So I'm cutting for the back now. So this means we're going to cut out when we place on pattern, we're cutting out the back measurement, the back pattern first before we do for the back, the front pattern. So now I'm closing my bust dart. From my bust dart, when I took my bust pan, I after my bust pan line, you saw that I did another 1 inch. I did my bust line stopped at 1 inch before it. When you're doing a bust dart on a dress, that is how it's done. You don't sew directly to the nipple apex. So now I'm marking my waist measurement on the fabric because I want to do a back tightening. So I went ahead to mark out the baseline for the front pattern. You can see me doing that. So go ahead and do yours. So when I'm done, I moved it in from the waistline there. I'm going to go in by one. I did a 1 inch tightening because this fabric has a little stretch. So I don't want it to have anything like those snake shapey kind of a thing. So now I connect it to the neck line, and I connect back to the hip line. I went 5 just to the where the hip line, because the dress is just like 2 inch away from the hip, or 1.5. So now that I've done that, I will now I've done my waist contouring. Now I'm going to take my zipper allowance, which is 1 inch that I did. So for your back contouring, if you've been sewing, like I said in my previous video, I said some person's back is deeper. You can even do above 1 inch for the waist tightening. You can do 1.02 for some person. Some persons are narrow. So for those that are narrow, if you do 0.5, it will be perfectly okay. But because this fabric is stretchy, I did 0 point. It has a little stretch. I did 1 inch because I've not made dress for this person before. So I did 1 inch. So it's still on the safe side for the waistline snatching. So now this is the zip measurement I took. Like I said, I did one, so I'm connecting them back. So if you look towards the neckline, you'll find out that it's looking like it's a bit above 1 inch. I'm going to make some corrections in it while I cut, and I'll also show you why it was like that. It's because of this dart that we closed. So it has moved it has given like a an ease towards the neckline. Like, you know, when you're transferring that, if you know about that manipulation, where you're transferring that, when you close one side, it's it affects a certain part. So when you transfer, actually, you don't really move all the that out. You transfer from a place and it moves to another place. So that is kind of what happened there, but I'm going to correct it. And I will show you after I've corrected it. So when you see that, if you look at it, it's like above 1 inch, but I'm going to cut through it again and show us when I'm done correcting. This is me cutting out my shoulder allowance. I did 0.5. So please add the allowances. If you didn't add while making the pattern, you add when you're cutting. Whichever that is easy for you, do so. Cut, 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 cut. This has been cutting the shoulder. And we're done. And now, this is me removing the excess. So when I open the dart, you will find out that it's actually equal. So notch your zipper allowance so you know where your allowance is starting from. So this is me opening the dart to show us that, to make sure my work was correct, that I didn't overcut. As you can see, it's aligned. So the reason it looked like that was because I closed the dart. So now let's cut for the front. Here I opened the dart to cut for the front. You know, if I had cut the back and the front like this, when I sew it, the back would be longer. When I close the dart for the front, the back is going to be longer. So that's why I had to close the dart to sew for the to cut for the front, the back, then open it to cut for the front, because we're going to hold that dart back in the front. If that makes sense, just follow the steps. You're going to get it right. So now I'm cutting out for the front neckline. Well done cutting. I notched my that leg, so I know where I started from. And you saw that I put a pin here. That's because I marked it off the camera, mark where on the inside, transfer where my that leg is starting from. And another way to do it, you can fold your distance into two, your fabric into two, measure where your dart leg started from. You know that after your dart apex, you went out by 1 inch. That's where it's gonna end. So now I'm cutting the sleeve. I did I made a, because it's gonna have a pleat, I I did 9. I think like times 2 of what I should do for it. So ignore this first part. So for the down, I used, I think about the down part was up to 15, 13 or 15 inches, because I'm going to add elastic to it. So that's just it. The rest excess we have, we're going to pleat. It's just easy in the cutout. The length I did was 15, 16, sorry. After fold, we'll have like 15 or 14.5, so that it's a short sleeve. So now, going to join the fabric, right side facing each other. for the front and the back. After joining the shoulder, I'm going to sew in the darts, like so. You see me holding the darts to wait. And so let's go to the machine and do that, and we'll come back. Here I'm done doing that. I'm done sewing the shoulder and the darts. So now I'm going to sew the sleeve. You see me holding the sleeve, then you do your gather. You can do it like you plait it, just play with it, you know, give it the form you want it to have. Then you sew around. If you wish to make a gather for it, you make a gather. I plaited mine, I didn't make a gather. So this is it. After I've done plating and I've hemmed the down part, I end with 0.5 and I turned again with 0.5. But if you have weaved it, if you weave the tip of it, you can just do 0.5 and you add your elastic. So this is me adding the elastic. Add the elastic, then you secure the elastic. You stretch it. Make sure when you add the elastic, you stretch it to have the stretch you want, so that it will be not too tight, not too firm, you know. Then you secure it, then you stitch down with your measurement. Here I'm done stitching it down. This is what we have for the sleeve. You can see how beautiful it looks. So now we're going to, this is for the pleats for the down part. So I used 1 inch. This fabric is 1 inch. I'm sorry, 1 yard. So I folded it into two. It's by 60. So 1 yard I folded into two, and I secured how I did mine. There are different ways to do it. You can choose to cut through and sew. But what I did was I folded into two and I secured it. So the place I sewed, I just had to slit this other place. It just helps me, like I feel it's easier for me that way. So do what works for you. You can decide to cut after cutting, sew. So now I'm removing the excess left. Because why I did that was because when I fold the fabric, it wasn't even. So I wanted to have even measurement. So I had to sew it like that. So I will start the measurement from the bent part so that I can eliminate the excess of the bent part from that other side. That's why I use this method. So this is me cutting out what I don't need now after I've sewn it. So now automatically I've slit open the fabric to give me a full piece, if that makes sense. So now I'm folding 0.5 on this edge, 0.5, 0.5 on the other edge. So what I'm going to do, the main fabric I've also sewed, I did 0.2, 0.2 for it because the length of the fabric wasn't that much. So I just want to be on the safe side. So now I'm going to sew on 0.5 on top of it. I'm just, what I did was this is a place. So what I did was I pinned the edge of the edge of this side and the edge of the other side of the black fabric to the both edge of the dress. So I started pleating from one side to the end, towards the end. What this helped me do is each time I pleat, I'm checking what is left. You know what is left so that the gathers can go evenly, because you might just start. So that's it. So we're done with that. Here is us trying to make the neckline. Now I have fold. There are different ways to cut this, but this works for me, easy for me. So now what you're going to do, you're going to notch. You know the zip part you notched. You're going to place it on your paper like so, and it's going to end where the notch started from. You know, like so. And when you're done, you're just going to mark the neckline round. So I'm going to mark it like diagonally like so. Then this other side, the same process. Then on the two edges, I went down by 4 inch. Fold to make sure they are even, the lines are matching, and to get the midpoint. That's what I actually needed here. So now I'm going to go down at the midpoint by 2 inch. Then at the tip of it, I'm going to go down by 4 inch. I did 4. So now I'm going to connect it with a free hand, make sure they are even like so. Repeat same process for this other side, like so. If you have a curve ruler, it will be easy for you. Just make do of your curve ruler because it's kind of curvy. So I folded to make sure they are is okay. So here's the front. I'm going to go in by 1 inch and connect back to the tip. So what this will do for me is that it's going to make the neckline, the front part, to look like a bit apart from each other instead of pointing closely towards each other by the edge of the collar. But we're going to see that, so let's just follow the process. Cut out. Here I didn't add allowance. Even while I was cutting, I forgot to add my sewing allowance. So please do so. But thank God for the excess allowance I had at the upper part and the lower part. So I was able to deepen the neckline again. So make sure to add your allowance while cutting. Don't make the mistake I made. And if you watch up to this part, you've not subscribed to my channel, what you waiting for? Please click the subscribe button. Subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you get notified each time we upload new video. And also drop a comment on the comment section to let us know how helpful this video has been to you. I would like to hear from you. So now I've cut out my facing, I cut two piece on two piece. So, and I've cut out my interface as well. That's the stay to put on it. You see. So I'm showing you reason why that place is like that. So now notch the middle of your dress. You fold it into two, zip side, zip notch to zip notch. Then the middle point, you notch it so that you know where your collar is starting from. And also notch the part that is staying for the front if you use this particular pattern I did. If you want to make the back and the front have the same shape, then you don't have a problem. But if you're not making it to have the same shape, please notch the front part so that you will know the side that is going to the front and the side that is going to the back. So here I've placed it. I'm going to take it to the machine to sew. This is the explanation. I'm done sewing. I used invisible zipper for this. Of course, it's perfect like this because I have a zipper foot. So please, if you don't have a zipper foot,